This is Nick.
This is Jack.
It's Thursday, the new Friday, January 16th, and today's pod is the best one yet. This is a T-Boy.
The top 3 pop business news stories you need to know today.
Oh, Yetis, full disclosure, but Jack is podcasting today without a key asset, his teeth.
I got my last wisdom tooth pulled this morning. Can you believe it?
It's taken like 2 decades. It's like you get a wisdom teeth pulled every 4 years that I've known you. It's like they're harvesting them. What's going on over there?
I know, but it was just 5 hours ago. I'm actually recording under the influence of Novocaine.
Besties, Jack has been applying gauze all day like he's on Grey's Anatomy. It's wild to watch.
It was my last wisdom tooth. It was already impacted, so it was a pretty easy pull.
I'm not going to get you a push present because you didn't have a baby, Jack. I'm going to get you a pull present, a teeth pull present.
Yeah, it is. I posted a post-pull video on Instagram with my cheek all swollen. We want to hear your comments. How did it do?
Jack and I, we did some voice warm-ups. He sounded normal, so today's pod is the best one yet. Jack, 3 stories for today's show. What do we got, man?
For our first story, from Pop-Tarts to Peeps, the most controversial artificial food coloring was just banned by the FDA.
Red 3's been banned in food, so we're looking at the great American business paradox.
For our second story, JPMorgan Chase just had its best quarter in over 200 years.
With record profits and a record stock price, we think it's time to kill the most hated fee in banking.
And our third and final story, there's a hot new side hustle that's earning some people $30,000 a year.
Job Referrals. Get this, referring strangers to your company is a brand new moneymaker.
But Yetis, before we hit that wonderful mix of stories,
3 wild stories. Love the mix today, Jack.
I taste a tiny bit of blood in my mouth. I think I need some more gauze.
No, that's iron. I think it's good for you, Jack. You should keep rolling. Keep the tapes rolling.
We're going to pivot to the most controversial question in business right now.
Here it is. Are women Instacart shoppers better than men Instacart shoppers?
Bigger question.
Should you be able to choose the Instacart shopper by their gender?
Yetis, this is the most viral debate raging on TikTok right now.
It is.
It's about Instacart shoppers.
Yeah, like, why are the male shoppers so bad at buying groceries? It's a thing.
One female Instacart customer ordered herb butter on the Instacart app.
But her male shopper delivered canola oil butter instead.
Another female Instacart customer wanted to make hamburgers tonight.
But her male shopper delivered beef chuck instead of ground beef.
Yetis, there is a cultural stereotype that men struggle with grocery shopping.
Honey, is that a white scallion or a white onion?
Honey, is that a shiitake mushroom or a maitake mushroom?
Honey, you asked for parsley, but I got you spinach. They smelled the same.
Full disclosure, this is Nick, this is Jack. We don't make those kinds of mistakes.
No, because Jack and I love food, we love ingredients, and thanks to running a news show, we have strong attention to detail.
Not only do I check the labels, I check the price per ounce so that I can compare differently sized products on the shelves.
Jack checks other people's labels. They don't even ask him, but he grabs them at the grocery store when they're in line.
I am this close to bringing coupons into the store.
But besties, we were thinking about it, and it brings up a comically controversial question for the gig apps.
From Uber Eats to DoorDash to Instacart.
Should you be able to choose the gender of your grocery shopper?
Because odds are that dude doesn't know a cauliflower from a cabbage.
Honey, what's a kohlrabi?
If it's a male Instacart shopper, you might want to keep the ingredients list simple.
Now, besties, we know what you're thinking. We're towing a line on controversy right here, but we want to know what you think in the comments, so leave us one on YouTube or Spotify.
We got a poll on Spotify, actually.
In the meantime, 3 fantastic stories. Jack, let's hit it.
15 years before this song, 2 boys from the Northeast met in the dorm. They had an idea that caused a cultural storm. It's the best one yet, but the best is the norm. Jack, Nick, that's it. I don't even think they need to practice. 50%, that's a fat tip. T-Boy City on your at list. If you know, you know, cause we ready to go. We can't wait no more, so just start the show. Start the show.
For our first story, the FDA just banned Red 3, the most controversial food coloring in America.
This is 40 years overdue.
It is.
So we're looking at what really caused this huge delay.
But Yetis, first, before we tell you this story, you should know that you eat bugs.
It's true. because we all eat red dye number 4 at some point. And guess what red dye number 4 is made out of?
It's made out of an ant-like insect called a cochineal bug that is typically found in South America, and we have it in most of our foods.
Now, red number 4 is safe to eat because the bugs that they're made from are natural.
Bugs, they're all part of this balanced breakfast.
But there's big news Wednesday about a different type of red dye number 3.
Because red dye number 3 just got banned in all American foods by the Food and Drug Administration.
Lots of foods in America used red dye until last year when the state of California banned them.
But still today, across America, Pez, candy corn, Betty Crocker's mashed potatoes. What's in them, Jack?
They've all got red 3.
Quick warning to our buddy Timmy, who enjoys double bubble, double twist bubble gum every day.
But now the artificial coloring red 3 is banned in foods and drinks across America because red 3 is known to cause cancer in rats.
Pause the pod. Yetis, when we read that red 3, a simple food dye, causes cancer in rats, we assumed, that's a new finding, right?
We'd be wrong, though, because we've actually known that red 3 causes cancer in rats for 40 years now.
Which led to our big question we were researching all yesterday. Why did it take someone so long to ban something we've known for 40 years?
Well, to answer that question, we're going to go back to 1907. That's when Big Oil invented red 3.
That's right. Red 3, also known as erythrocine, was a byproduct of petroleum. It is an oil-based product.
So when the FDA was established by Congress 20 years later, red 3 was approved for use in foods.
Yeah, it was approved for use in foods, because food companies have a magically delicious history of prioritizing profits over pediatrics.
But Nick, those maraschino cherries, they make my Shirley Temple look so delicious.
Honestly, if I don't have a neon red cherry in my drink, I'm not even going to finish that thing, Jack.
But then in the 1980s, scientists discovered an inconvenient truth.
Yeah.
That red dye that makes our Shirley Temples look so Instagrammable.
So beautiful.
It gave rats thyroid cancer.
So red 3 was banned in Australia, Europe, and over in Japan.
But it wasn't banned in America.
Which leads to one of the wildest business paradoxes we'd ever seen.
In the 1990s, we did ban red 3 in the United States for cosmetics.
But we did not ban it in food.
So it's not okay to put red 3 on your body, but it is okay to put it in our body.
You can't put red 3 on lipstick, but you could put it in a strawberry-flavored Peeps marshmallow?
Here's an even wilder part of the story. We have to talk about the Delaney Clause, because it's little known, but it has huge implications.
Jack, the Delaney Clause, that's part of the FDA Act where if something is known to cause cancer in animals, it cannot be served to humans.
But didn't we just say that studies showed 40 years ago that red 3 causes cancer in rats?
We did, Jack. So Yetis, we were even more curious. Why did the world ban red 3 and the US ban it in makeup as well? But 40 years later, we finally banned it in food?
Well, the answer's in our takeaway.
So Jack, what's the takeaway for our buddies over in the food industry?
This story shows the difference between deregulation and fixing regulation.
So besties, why did it take so long to ban red 3? Well, experts give 2 reasons, and the first is lobbying.
Get this, there's a lobbying group called the International Association of Color Manufacturers.
Yeah.
Highly paid lawyers advocating for artificial food colorings.
That's an entire lobby, and they helped delay this entire ban.
The second reason, though, is the FDA just blew it, because the FDA didn't have the resources that lobbyists have.
Yeah, the FDA just doesn't have a clear process to reassess foods that have already been approved, like food dye red 3.
So right now in America, the political climate is all about deregulation.
To cut rules and regulations.
But red 3 is an example that shows it's not that simple.
It shows the need to improve rules and regulations.
This story shows that deregulation and fixing regulation are very different things.
For our second story, JPMorgan Chase is now a $700 billion company after setting another quarterly profit record.
So we think now is the perfect time to eliminate the most hated fee in banking.
Yetis, fun fact for you, but Chase Bank actually started as a water company back in the 1700s.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Well, Jamie Dimon has been the CEO of that bank, America's biggest bank, since the year 2006.
And Jamie Dimon just presided over JPMorgan Chase's best quarter in its 200-year history.
Get this, in just 3 months, $14 billion in profit. That's up 50% from last year.
Get this, we jumped in T-Boy style.
We did.
JPMorgan Chase holds $2 trillion of cash deposits.
Not too shabby.
And $1 trillion of those deposits are out in the economy right now as loans.
Jack, when you're holding and lending that much money, you can get a whole lot of revenue on that stuff.
Not to mention the fees. Investment banking fees nearly doubled last quarter from the year before to $2.5 billion.
And it's not just JPMorgan, right, Jack?
All of Wall Street's looking good. Yesterday, we got the earnings from BlackRock.
The country's biggest asset manager.
And we got Goldman's earnings.
The country's biggest pure play investment bank.
And both announced record profits, and both are enjoying record high stock prices.
But it is JPMorgan who is more valuable than both of those banks
combined. JPMorgan Chase is worth $700 billion according to its market cap.
And that's 100 lifts.
Wow.
But besties, here's what we found fascinating about this story. It's got a lot of people wondering about the S word.
Succession.
Succession. Like, who is going to succeed and replace Jamie Dimon?
You know what? We don't think anyone's going to succeed him.
Yeah, we don't think anyone's gonna. Kendall Roy, he doesn't even want the job.
Yesterday, highlighting the bank's outlook, Jamie Dimon mentioned 2 significant risks facing our economy.
First, he said inflation may persist for some time. Have you seen the price of eggs lately? It's a frittata fiasco.
And second, Jamie Dimon said that geopolitical conditions remain the most dangerous and complicated since World War II.
Well, all that sounds a little bit scary from our Uncle Jamie, Jack.
Given that, we think he's going to stick around as CEO for 5 years or more.
Yeah.
After all, he's only 68.
Yeah, it's going to be at least a few more years before he leaves that banking job to become governor of the state of Greenland.
Entering this wildly uncertain period we have ahead, we think this elder statesman wants to stick around to be a force of stability.
So, Jamie, since you're going to be sticking around for a while and we know you're listening today, we have got an idea for you. And it's our takeaway. So, Jack, what's the takeaway for our buddy Jamie over at JPMorgan Chase?
JPMorgan Chase should eliminate the most hated fee in banking, the overdraft fee.
Ah, the overdraft fee. Yetis, that's when banks charge about $30 each time your account dips below zero, even if it's just for an instant.
Opponents of the overdraft fee call it a tax on the poor. It's taking excessive fees from those least able to pay them.
Congress has been grilling the banks on the overdraft fee. Although we should point out that the overdraft fee is less than 1% of JP Morgan's revenue.
So in this economy, JP Morgan could turn that fraction of its revenue into a positive PR opportunity.
Here's what we're thinking, Jamie. Eliminate it. Cut it. Just give customers a grace period or some other option. Basically say, we hear ya. The money's tight. Don't worry about it.
We're going to get rid of the overdraft fee because we care about you.
We think a move like that could attract huge numbers to JP Morgan's 5,000 bank branches, the most in the country.
It'd be a do-gooder move that pays for itself with the marketing boost they'd get from that pure PR.
Pure PR. With record revenue, profits, and a record stock price, JP Morgan, they can afford to put the overdraft fee out of its misery.
It's time to eliminate the most hated fee in banking,
the overdraft fee. Hey Yetis, if you're a bestie, take a sec and hit that subscribe button.
And like this video while you're at it. If you leave a comment, by the way, we'll read it.
For our third and final story, there's a hot new side hustle for people with corporate jobs, and that side hustle is Job Referrals.
The job referral money-making side hustle shows the power of loose ties.
Yetis, over 18 months, one single tech worker recommended 1,000 job candidates to his employer.
And 8 of those 1,000 referrals ended up getting hired.
So he pulled in $30,000 in referral bonuses. But Jack, what is the wildest part of this surprise story we are telling right now?
Every one of those 1,000 people he referred was a complete stranger.
He didn't know any of them.
Now, that's all according to Bloomberg reporting. But Yetis, Job referrals are supposed to be a win-win-win deal.
The candidate gets a better chance of getting a job, the referrer gets a bonus, and the company saves time and recruiting money.
And the relationship you have with someone you refer, it can span a range of relationships.
Yeah, it could be your best friend, or it could be your father's brother's nephew's cousin's former roommate.
As long as you've spoken to the person and met at least once, HR tends to be cool with anyone referring anyone.
Yeah, like as long as you can vouch for them, or like your friend who's a friend of theirs can vouch for them, that's all that they want to know.
And in this economy, applying without a referral can feel like tossing your resume into a digital black hole. It massively increases the chances that your application actually gets read.
But here's the funny thing, Yetis. Referrals are now so in demand that a marketplace for referrals has emerged, according to Bloomberg.
Blind is a free app with 12 million tech workers who anonymously share their thoughts on their employer.
So job seekers go on Blind to connect with random people at the company they're applying to in order to get a referral.
Glassdoor has something similar, but they're even more explicit. There's an entire forum for referrals.
Yes, you can find a stranger at your dream job and ask them to refer you. It'd be a nice favor.
So in the finance and tech industry, workers are finding referrers online despite having no previous relationship.
But besties, wait, because this story gets even wilder. What do we got, Jack?
A new company has formed just for referrals. It's called Refer Me, and they'll connect you with a high-quality referrer at any company you want to apply to, as long as you pay the $12 a month subscription.
So they will pair you with an employee who will, in this case, enthusiastically refer you because you're paying a fee.
Add it all up, right now, you can buy a referral to apply to a job at Goldman, Microsoft, Nvidia, Spotify, and they're just like $25 each.
And the reason this entire referral market exists is because Google pays out a $4,000 referral bonus and Meta will pay a $5,000 referral bonus.
There's big money in referrals, so a marketplace is building around them.
Well, besties, before anyone gets fired, we should point out that these banks and tech companies say that false referrals are against their policy.
And even if you don't break policy, you could get a bad reputation at work if people think you're handing out referrals willy-nilly.
So Jack, what's the takeaway for our buddies in the job market?
You don't need a fake friend for a referral. You just need a loose tie.
A loose tie. Yetis, last year, we told you that job referrals are the greatest asset in your application arsenal.
According to Bloomberg, the odds of getting a job are 8 times better if someone at the company refers you.
But you don't need a best friend and you don't need to pay for a referral in order to get a good one. What you really need is a loose tie, like a friend of a friend.
A great piece by Adam Grant, a psychologist at Wharton. He said that we underestimate our networks. Loose ties, we got a lot of them, and they can provide big value in this kind of thing.
Loose ties are huge value. You just don't think of them. And they're valuable for job referrals, biz development, sales. Like the people you met once or occasionally, or like just a friend of a buddy, those are loose ties.
That guy you spent a couple hours with during that airport delay.
That's a loose tie.
You guys exchanged numbers. You remember he works at ESPN? You can ask him for a referral at ESPN.
Jack, my first 2 jobs were from weak ties, loose ties. Like a friend of my wife's friend helped me get the first job in finance.
You have authentic, supportive referrers out there waiting for you. They're closer than you realize.
Besties, remember the power of loose ties. Jack, could you whip up the takeaways for us for the new Friday?
Red 3, a petroleum-based artificial color that causes cancer in rats, is finally banned in the US.
Red 3, it shows there's a big difference between deregulating and fixing regulation.
For our second story, JPMorgan Chase is now worth $700 billion after scoring record earnings last quarter.
And that's why it's time for Jamie Dimon to eliminate the overdraft fee, the most hated fee in banking.
And finally, one guy made $30,000 last year because he referred 1,000 people to jobs at his company.
Job referrals, they're now a side hustle. But instead, we think you should ask one of your loose ties.
But Yetis, this pod's not over yet. Here's what else you need to know today.
First, on the eve of a U.S. presidential transition, Israel and Hamas reached a ceasefire deal.
Both President Biden and President-elect Trump are sure to claim credit for this.
Yeah, actually, after all, they both had representatives working together to negotiate this deal.
The ceasefire begins Sunday, and it includes prisoner exchanges as well as more aid getting into Gaza.
And second, TikTok update, because it gets banned in like 3 days. Competing platforms are welcoming TikTok users ahead of the Sunday ban.
YouTube is expanding the time limit for YouTube Shorts from 60 seconds to a more TikTok-y 3 minutes.
And Substack is offering a $25,000 prize to whatever TikToker moves their whole audience over to Substack.
But the big winner, it's probably going to be Meta.
Because Instagram and Facebook are expected to capture 40% of all the users and ad dollars that TikTok loses.
And finally, Hershey's Chocolate is about to make the biggest chocolate deal in the history of cocoa.
Yeah, get this, Hershey just placed a chocolate order so big, they had to get government approval for it.
The order is for 9 times the limit on commercial chocolate purchases.
Yeah, there is a global shortage of cocoa, so it looks like Hershey found a good deal out there and is buying as much as they possibly can. By the way, speaking of Hershey, if you haven't heard The Best Idea Yet, our weekly show, we just did a whole episode on the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. Now, time for the best fact yet. This one sent in by Christy March from lovely Corryville, Texas.
We've told you about the invention of the snooze button by General Electric.
But did you know that another company invented a second clock with 2 snooze options? A snooze option for 5 minutes and a snooze option for 9 minutes.
That clock failed. People didn't want to wake up and then have to decide how long do I want to snooze for.
When you snooze, you're pressing one button. You do not want to have to math the math on that stuff.
And that's why those old school alarm clocks had the biggest button on the clock was the snooze button.
Snooze!
So you could whack it.
You punch that button. Yetis, you look fantastic today. And if you haven't yet, because it's a new year, remember to tap to follow us on whatever app you're listening to, because that way you can get T-Boy every single day.
And if you got a buddy who needs a New Year's resolution, tell him to HYHTBOY every single day this year.
Have you heard the best one yet? That's how you do it. And finally, we got to know, male or female Instacart shoppers, is this a thing?
I'm just going to hire myself, man.
I'm going to hire you as well, Jack. Can I just point out, amazing performance considering you lost your final wisdom tooth like 2 hours ago?
Wisdom teeth in the appendix. I don't need any of them.
Yetis, forgive the blood on today's episode. Jack and I will see you tomorrow.
It's just a slight taste of blood.
It tastes kind of good. And before we go, a happy birthday to the internet, which was born on January 16th, 1986 with the first domain, symbolics.com, which still exists today.
And happy 40th birthday to Stephen Brody in Nashville, Tennessee, who's going cave diving in Mexico to celebrate.
Take a big breath. And Con Lu in San Francisco, California, has got the first birthday of their life in San Francisco. Celebrate fantastically. Some great restaurants for you.
And a special goo goo gaga to Annie Pham of Irvine, California, who's celebrating 1 week on this beautiful planet.
And Lisa Smith's got a 46th birthday in Pottstown, Pennsylvania.
Happy birthday to Tammy Linares in Canton, Michigan, who just got promoted to engineer, who's making vehicles safer.
And Isabella Woods just got back from Thailand, but is celebrating a belated Sweet 16.
Congratulations to Mia LaRucci Flores in Tanafly, New Jersey, who's joining the College Honor Society as a high schooler.
And a huge thank you to Terry Lee in Miami, whose son is a firefighter who is in Los Angeles right now taking on the blazes.
We don't know this firefighter's name, but man, do we appreciate his service. Right?
Thank you, Terry Anderson.
And to anyone else celebrating something today, make it a T-Boy.
Celebrate the wins.
This is Jack. I own stock of Instacart, and Nick and I both own stock of Spotify.